got some very warm, dry weather going on here. And I suspect there's a lot of stagnant waters going on with all the mask wearing going on. Yeah, a lot of stagnant, stinky, ew, bacterial, infested, yucky things. You know, if you've worn it for 45 minutes or longer, you know what I'm talking about. You stink. Don't say your shit don't stink, 'cause it does. You need some blessing. We gotta pray this mask off of us. We got to pray this mask off of us. This is a curse. We've lost sight of the meaning of words. And we're worshiping this God we call science. And I've never seen crowdsourced science like this before. This is very interesting. A lot of what we're calling science right now is more like crowd agreement. Because what you don't know is a lot of your health boards, at least where I am, and I have a feeling this is going on everywhere, is they are no more knowledgeable or medically trained than you are. And that is one reason why there's so much fear, is because they don't have a clue what's going on. So they're scared, because people get really scared of the unseen and the unknown. It's their God. We've got an issue. In the United States, it's coming off as a race issue. I think that's a distraction. From what I can tell, it ain't a race issue. It's a class issue. Maybe due to all the regulations and inhibitions on working class people. A lot of us haven't had a raise since the last few years, basically since Trump got in. There were not raises. We were working jobs in a lot of America and where I live, where benefits had gone way down since the 90s, and wages had stagnated. Where I am, they stagnated at 90s era wages, yet we had all these really ultra wealthy people coming in and paying cash and running things, and they don't work. About 40% of the population where I live doesn't have to work. They came in with money, and we only started seeing raises since the last election, and people were really happy about it. That we were finally seeing job competition, employers competing for the workers with benefits, and finally wages that were going up to halfway decent. I think we've got a lot of xenophobia going on and a lot of fear between really sheltered type people. A lot of sheltered, they're educated but very uneducated and ignorant, because they live in a bubble. And I think they're a little scared of working class people. A little bit, just a little bit. So I've got a little dancing trout here, because what I have found out is you never ever go wrong with the river. You can't get lost. You find a river. And with the fish, the trout and the salmon. Yeah, I should be a fly fisherman or woman. Evidently, it's just natural, inborn into me, the casting and all of that. And maybe that's why I don't pursue it, because it is so natural. It's probably in my blood. My dad, he is actually a famous fly fisherman. Who knows? Famous fly fisherman. Okay. So I'm going to give you this is Dancing Trout Ale. It says crystal, wheat, and rich cascade hop aroma. I hope it's not just hop aroma. I hope it's really hops. Okay. You can't go wrong. This looks like I think that's a rainbow trout jumping on the label. You can't go wrong with that. If you have not seen a rainbow trout, you need to see a rainbow trout. Gorgeous, sparkly. They're like magical jewels. Of course, the most magical jewel of all is the cutthroat. Let me think here. What should it be? Well, it's always George Patrick Sorin, GPS, Know Your Way. I think Moses. I think I'm still on Moses. So, xenophobia in the name of science and health is in right now. It's been imported. I think it's been imported probably from communist and fascist movements. I'm not sure where. I think a lot of it is from China, because they've really infested all of our college systems and our entertainment. Like when you're watching American mainstream entertainment, that is very monitored and owned by China. And they have really, the last few years, told us what to do. And but we also have some fascist movements from Europe here, and we have some major xenophobia and fear. There's a virus. I'm not exactly sure if it's a physical virus, and it actually doesn't really matter, because mental and spiritual things will manifest physically. And a lot of people forget that the meaning of breath, and this is a lot about breath. Breath has to do with spirit. And I think what's going on is actually not physical first. I think this is a spiritual contagion and a panic that we got from other countries. And it's manifesting physically in a lot of people with high anxiety and who don't have a higher belief system, because the most fear seems to be from people who are who don't have a higher belief, and it seems to be a lot in women who don't have enough exposure to men, and I mean any men, period. No men, not even gay men. And that's something I have to talk about. You know, the gay men nowadays are really, I mean, they're at least male. They're really great influence on a lot of women that normal men can't get near to. There's a lot of amazing gay men out there right now who are just artistic, open-minded, really questioning things and compassionate. And a lot of them are the only ones who have a real chance to get in close to some of these really fearful women and show them compassion and show them bravery. Because a lot of women, especially middle-aged ones, for some reason, if they haven't settled down with a man, they're very unsexual and very afraid of men and male influences. So I really consider a lot of the gay men to be really amazing and powerful and excellent influence on a lot of older and middle-aged fearful women right now. It's amazing to me to see, because we have this stereotype, we always have a stereotype about gay men. No, they are not like women, not at all. They're more fun, a lot of them. And braver, because you have to be brave. You have to be. But I think there's a reason for the amazing, brave influence of many artistic, intellectual gay men right now. I think they're actually warriors on a different level. That straight men cannot get into these women's minds or groups or hearts and help influence and make them stronger and braver and get out of themselves. Because there's a lot of very fearful women out there right now. I have to restrain myself. I am not afraid. That's my problem, is my greatest fear in life, my greatest fear, more than anything else, is actually losing my freedom to be whoever I am at that time. It's a huge fear. Like, I would live under a bridge if I have to. Losing my freedom and my freedom of expression and speech and body movements as a woman, it's really important. And I know I haven't exercised and performed, because life is a performance. I have not performed my freedom and my best self as a woman. I haven't done that. Especially during this abnormal time that we're in. So we're in a time that I consider very xenophobic, and we should have learned this lesson. We should have remembered it, that we subjugated and isolated people in the name of science and health and the greater good in the past. And it culminated in what we call World War II. People really did think they were doing the right thing. And we put all this blame on Nazi Germany and forget to look around and see that this idea of purity and false morality was all over the world at that time. And the United States had this weird religion of science springing up. And they say science, you're supposed to be rational and logical and unbiased, but that is very much not true. It's just exactly like any religion, maybe even worse, because it hides behind having no religion. And in the United States, we were experimenting, we were sterilizing people, we were getting rid of so-called unhealthy elements of people, in the United States. It wasn't only happening in Europe. And people who spoke up were considered rebellious, subversive, impure. And we're seeing in the United States right now some major xenophobia. It's not about race, really. It's being distracted to look that way. But the thing is a lot of white and black people are coming together, and we're all extremely disturbed and hurt by what appears to be maybe paid tourist protesters and rioters and destroyers who get paid to spread hate. It's like a alien invasion of some sort. And it's in all different directions. And a lot of it seems to do with the masks. Because a lot of us feel that the masks are actually filthy and unhealthy and spread virus around. And I know where I live, the health board does not have any medically trained people on it. They're educated, but there's no one medically trained. Even the health officer who's supposed to be medically trained has always worked government jobs and has actually never done actual medical work. And they're scared to death of working class people and of this virus, and they don't want any music, no singing, no rock and roll, nothing. They don't want you at church. They don't want you singing. And that to me right there is a sign that we've got a curse going on, not a virus, a curse. Because everybody knows music gets people together and heals them. It's a well-known fact. Music doesn't kill people. I mean, there's bad music out there that has a negative, nasty vibe. But generally speaking, communal music and mosh pits, even those, are a great release of energy and spirit and brotherly love. I know around here where I live, a mosh pit is usually never angry. It's probably the place you most want to be because it's all love. It's all love. It's usually just a bunch of geeks having fun. So I'm just rambling. And I have been anti-mask protesting with my dad. And it's been awesome to go to the anti-mask protests because it's bringing back some of my earliest childhood memories of some of the people my mom used to protest with. We had protesting going on when we were young. I don't want to say what it was about, but my mom was protesting and it had nothing to do with hippies. But it was a lot of like kind of hippie people. So I really loved this protest I went to because it's been years since I've gotten to be with people who are exactly like how I remember my state was before all the Californians and New Yorkers invaded. They're very paranoid and uptight people. And so I'm at this anti-mask protest. It just brought back childhood memories of the type of people who we used to be here. It was, a bunch of like hippies, skateboarder type people with dreadlocks, and then there's people with tattoos and beards and cowboy boots, and people with guns strapped on, and then also we have a lot of immigrants that tend to be from like Germany and be who have parents who survived the Holocaust and had their whole families wiped out. And so we always have these Europeans here, and we always have, who have memories of what happens when you silence and shut people down, and they're always here in this community. It's kind of special in a way, warning us. They're warning us. So we had several women, talking about how the mask mandate is just the beginning. It's the beginning, and one of the things too we talked about at the protests is that we have to get out into our communities, and this is kind of a job for the females among us, because most of these fears are very feminine and amongst the female population, and we have to start talking to the females in our community and helping to educate them and help their fears and ease their fears. So there's a big focus on that, that we have to work on our females, our neighbors and our co-workers, and the fear amongst the females, which is probably very legitimate to have these fears. It's ignorant, though, to be masking a woman, because for me as a woman and the friends that I know, they can barely go out in public now because of the mask mandate. Because I have friends who have been very abused by past relationships, and putting the mask on causes extreme anxiety, and a feeling of being abused and imprisoned, and it's bringing back really bad memories of abuse. And then for me, as a woman, it's extremely offensive and painful to have to wear the mask, because it has very religious connotations to it about purity and religion and submission. And so I really, really can't stand the mask, because I can't breathe in it. And I feel it's very abusive and religious. And I feel like I'm submitting to something that I don't believe in. And also, like when I was at the last anti-mask protest, there were some women there who were protesting us, and they were saying that they were saving humanity and telling people they should put a mask on. And I did some talking to them, and they struck me as maybe a little bit lower IQ than normal. And one of them looked like she had a black eye, like maybe she'd been beaten. So I'm thinking maybe these women were abuse victims. And I asked them questions. And another thing, they were trying to pose as saving humanity, but they didn't help me at all. They wouldn't talk to me at all. And I was asking them where they were from and all that, and talked to one of them for a really long time, and they never once tried to educate me or help me understand why I should wear a mask. And then when I asked them what they thought about my grandma, who was born in 1933 and is very elderly and has actually gone through xenophobia and extreme hatred in her childhood, which did make her homeless too in the very cold winter. I said, what do you think about this vulnerable population that we're supposed to be protecting? And my grandma, she's born in 1933, and she still likes to work and get out and be social, and she's still active, and she really can't stand the mask. I said, what do you think about her not wearing the mask? And they said, she's killing people. She could be killing people. I said, you think she's killing people? Aren't we supposed to be wearing the mask to protect her, the elderly population? We've been preached at and told this. I said, are you saying my grandma's a murderer? And they shook their heads emphatically and they said, yes, she's a murderer. And I thought, how strange. And then I asked, do you know any of the essential workers, the people who had to work through the lockdown and all the stress that went on for about a month of being mistreated by all these people who stormed in and were hoarding and just really rude and misbehaving? And I said, a lot of these workers who kept working through the lockdown and they wore the masks, I said, they endured extreme amounts of abuse and stress from people here in town. I said, do you know any of them? And I said, do you know that they all started getting extremely sick about a month ago? And many have had to be hospitalized to serious bacterial lung infections. And the doctors are telling them it's because of wearing the masks for so many hours during the day, for so many months. And these women wanted to change the subject. They didn't care. They didn't care. I was shocked. They said, well, I wasn't out. I don't care what happened to them. I wasn't out. And I thought, what? You don't care? I said, you don't care what the local doctors are telling people and what's actually happening to people. You want to preserve this narrative that preserves xenophobia and this false security, but you actually don't really care about anyone. I said, this is the strangest thing. I was in shock. I was really speechless at the behavior because it was also very immature. It was so immature. They didn't care. So I found a song that I think explains the attitude of these women that were protesting us protesters. And we were having fun. And on top of that, we were very concerned about the health of the community. And we were concerned about a repeat of xenophobia and eugenics going on and curses. And we we're praying particularly for the women in the community. But I know from what I've been told by several people now in the community that the doctors are telling people that they are sick because of the masks. Not because they're not wearing them. It's the masks and it's the lockdown. People are getting very ill. And I think the health board, who has no medical experience at all, beyond nothing different than me, I probably know more than them. The health board must not be talking to the local doctors. And the local doctors are probably being kind of quiet to avoid being political. No, I won't let love disrupt, corrupt, or interrupt me. I won't let love disrupt, corrupt, or interrupt me. Oh, I won't let love disrupt, corrupt, or interrupt me anymore. I want love to change my friends to enemies. Change my friends to enemies. Show me how it's all my fault. So, anyway, the United States is probably going to have a civil war because we've been extremely infected with the virus of Marxism and fascism. And we probably will have a civil war. It's been predicted for a long time. And a lot of it does have to do with class. It has to do with a group of people who are very sheltered and educated, but also very uneducated and not very street smart. And I don't think they understand at all that there's a high, or maybe they do understand, and maybe that's what they're scared of, is that there's a high percentage of street smart and educated people in America, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, Indian. I hate saying Native American, it's Indian. When you say Indian, it gives them something to make fun of us for. But Indians, too, who came over from India, I don't think they understand that we're not xenophobic. These people pushing all this and these white tourist protesters that work for Antifa and then who boss the black people around in BLM, we're allies. Oh, come on. That bullshit. No, you're not. You're white supremacists hiding behind being anti-racist, whatever. Normal people, normal black, white, and all the other colors in between. And even in sexualities. Sorry, we're pretty normal. We get along, and we're going to kick your ass. So there you go. We're going to troll you into the ground. Because we get along. We love each other. We also love to make fun of each other. It is not racist. So there. It's fun. This is the American way, and I think it's the world way. People have stereotypes about different groups and cultures, and there's racism. You know where there's racism. And I have not ever met a person that approves of it. It's not okay. It's not okay. But there's also brotherly and sisterly ribbing And making fun of each other. I love it when black people make fun of white people. I love it. I think it's hilarious. I mean, it's just hilarious. But we're all brothers and sisters. And that's exactly it. Like growing up in my big, huge family, one of the games, and I know I must not be the only one of the games when you're in your board time is making fun of each other. It's like this game where you make up stories and you just get carried away making fun of each other. And we would do it about neighbors. I mean, it's just what people do, or they used to do. Big families are good that way. They're kind of cruel. They are kind of cruel, yeah. Another thing, at the anti-mask protest, if I have any Indian reservation people watching this, the people at the protest were talking about the Indians and saying, we're going to be on a reservation soon, or we already are. And then some people were yelling and saying, we need our Indians. Where's our Indians? We need them to help us. We need our spokespeople. They know what is going to happen. But the thing is you Indians on the res, so many of you are allowing your egomaniac leaders, and you know it. Oh, come on, you know it. They talk big and they lock everyone down. They're locking everyone down. They're talking big. Can't go visit the fam. We're all gonna die. This is plague. You know. Blessings upon you. May the curse and the virus and the contagion of fear clear from you. Do not fear death. We all die. Love each other, whether you have a mask or not on. Your spirit is what's contagious and can curse or heal those around you. Blessings. Spock. Spock, the Jewish Vulcan. Take care.